And then the Kansas City Chiefs, they allowed them to tie the game. We know what ended up happening there, a heartbreaker for the Buffalo Bills. They made some moves this offseason. The Kansas City Chiefs, they may have lost a little bit this offseason, so maybe tougher sledding moving forward for the Chiefs. We know that AFC is absolutely stacked. If we're looking at these two teams, in the Chiefs and the Bills, who is the team to beat in the AFC?
That one's a easy question for me, Amber, because...
Is it?
Yeah, it is, because when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, they have hosted the last 4 AFC championship games. And they have 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl win, and they still have a quarterback named Patrick Mahomes. Now, with me saying that, I'm picking the Bills to come out of the AFC this year, but the team to beat is still the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is still there.
Wait.
Yeah.
So what? So the Bills are going to the Super Bowl, but the Chiefs are the team to beat.
What? Yeah, the team that beat the Bills last year.
How does that make any sense? If you think the Bills are going to the Super Bowl, then you think the Bills are the team to beat this season because you think the Bills are better than the Chiefs.
No. Who stopped the Buffalo Bills the last 2 seasons from getting to where they wanted to be?
The Kansas City Chiefs.
The Kansas City Chiefs. So until the Bills get over that hump in the playoffs, the Kansas City Chiefs are the team to beat when it comes to the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, win something.
That was an interesting logic, but I guess I'm following you now. So you don't want to unseat the Chiefs until the Bills actually unseat the Chiefs. Yeah. But if you were a betting man, your money would be on the Bills to actually get over the hump and unseat the Chiefs this season. How much of that is the addition of Von Miller? Because some people are calling that the biggest signing of the offseason. We know the Chiefs lost this offseason in Tyreek Hill. These teams did kind of have very different off seasons in that regard. We were just showing the graphic on ESPN2 if you're watching us live about all of the additions that the Bills made this offseason. This is an improved Bills team, right?
Yep, they are. When you look at them defensively, Gregory Rousseau, I think a guy like Von Miller is going to be able to help him, Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones. I played with Daquan in Tennessee, interior defensive lineman, Shaq Lawson. But you look at the secondary, you're going to get Tre'Davious White back. He was a big piece to the Buffalo Bills, got injured last year. They drafted Kier Elam, which I thought was one of the most underrated corners coming out from the University of Florida. A guy that's fast, he's big, he's physical, he can play press coverage at the line of scrimmage. I like what this defense is going to present, not to mention they have a hell of a tandem at the safety position. Now, when you look at this team offensively, a guy like Josh Allen, I thought from Josh Allen's first year up until now, I think he's progressed so greatly. When you look at him last year, being able to not force things, take his check downs, and just hit the open man, but utilizing his legs. And I bring up the Atlanta Falcons games because they did a great job covering the pass. And Josh Allen didn't have a good passing game. He had 2 interceptions in that game as well. May have been 3, but he went to his secondary strength. His legs. He had 2 touchdown runs. I think Josh Allen is one of the most scariest players in the National Football League coming into this season. You really don't want to play him. He's tough. He's physical. He has a chip on his shoulder. The emergence of Gabriel Davis, we've seen what he did in the game against the Kansas City Chiefs, catching that touchdown that should have been the game winner with 13 seconds left. But we all know what happened defensively. Sean McDermott, you got to get it together. You got to squib kick number 1, and you can't just basically play prevent defense that allowed Patrick Mahomes to go down and get a field goal. And then we all know what happened in overtime with Travis Kelce scoring a game-winning touchdown. But I like the additions that the Buffalo Bills have. You O.J. Howard at the tight end position. I like that. Jamison Crowder from the wide receiver position as well. So I think the Bills are actually going to come out the AFC, but you still have that dark cloud of the Kansas City Chiefs hanging over your shoulder.
You're not willing to let go yet of the Kansas City Chiefs.
I can't.
When they have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid at the helm, right? I'll get back to the Chiefs in just a moment, but you kept mentioning the additions that the Bills have made. I was impressed with what the Bills did this offseason because they weren't the team that I necessarily had tapped this offseason as, hey, they need to get better. They need to improve, right? Because they were going to do that anyways, I feel like, with the development of Josh Allen. I think we're all believers in Josh Allen at this point. There's a natural trajectory there where you figured that the Bills are going to be improved anyways from the experience also of losing to the Chiefs in the way that they did this last postseason. But they did go ahead and add Von Miller in the offseason. Here was Von Miller on how the Bills can win it all.
All Super Bowl teams, they have similarities, and success leaves clues. And as long as we just as long as we just keep chipping away at it, I feel like we'll be okay. Whenever I can interject, some of my knowledge and some of my wisdom, or if I can see something where I could, put my 2 cents in, I'll do it. But I'm not a preachy, rah-rah guy. I'm coming out trying to make my plays and trying to get my job done. And whenever it's time for Von Miller to talk, I'm going to be the first one to do it.
I mean, when you land a future Hall of Famer, which is what Von Miller is, it's a good day. I mean, they paid him to do it. Like coming off of a Super Bowl win and a player that is going to be a future Hall of Famer. How much do you think that is going to help that Bills team defensively?
Tremendously, especially when you look at that defensive line. You have guys like Boogie Basham, AJ Epinenza. These guys need a guy like Von Miller to show them the way, right? Show them how to get over the hump. Show them how to practice. Show them what it's like to be a winner. And Von Miller just doesn't have one Super Bowl win. He has 2 of those things, man. So his presence, he has a pass rush camp. A lot of those guys go out to. So being able to have him in the building leading the way for that defense and that defensive line, I think it's going to pay good riddance. But when you look at them offensively, the Bills, they're going to have to run the football better. You can't put Josh Allen in the situations that you had him last year. He was the second leading rusher on that team with over 700 yards. But I don't think you want your franchise quarterback rushing that much. Now, if he has to run, go ahead and let him do it. But calling this design runs, you drafted James Cook for a reason. I think you need to let Devin Singletary do some things, Zach Moss, Duke Johnson. Let those guys run the football and be running backs, what they actually are, and take some of that load off of Josh Allen's hands.
You mentioned the offseason for the Kansas City Chiefs going kind of a different direction here with the loss of Tyreek Hill. We make a lot about the loss of Tyreek Hill, as we should, and the Chiefs were not in a position to pay him the kind of money that the Miami Dolphins ended up paying him, and in part because, by the way, they had to pay Patrick Mahomes not long ago, right? And we know what that cap hit looks like with Mahomes. And that's what happens when you have to pay your superstar quarterback coming off of a rookie deal and they get paid handsomely. And then all of a sudden the flexibility isn't there in the future. So they lose Tyreek Hill, but they did bring in weapons to replace him and Valdez-Scantling. They brought in Juju. How much of a fall-off do you think that there's going to be? Or are we underrating the presence of their new additions there in Kansas City?
I think a lot of people are underrating the skill position players for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Tyreek Hill was a big part of what they did, right? The explosion, you might be missing that. Hey, I can just throw this guy a 5-yard slant, 5-yard hitch. He can take it 70, 80 at any given time. But they still have a Travis Kelce, who was one of the game's best tight ends. You just mentioned Juju Smith-Schuster. Mecole Hardman, I think this is going to be a big year for him because when they drafted him, they was basically looking at Tyreek Hill and say, how can we get another guy potentially that can be a Tyreek Hill? He's a guy that can do it. He just has to do it. And this year he's going to have the opportunities, now that Tyreek Hill is no longer there, to be that guy and be in the role and play the role that Tyreek Hill did. Now, 2 people I think is going to be key for this team. Sky Moore, it's one of my favorite receivers coming out of this past draft.
Rookie.
They got him. And Justin Ross. Let's not forget Justin Ross. If Justin Ross can be healthy out of Clemson, let's not forget what he did in that national championship game when he was with the Clemson Tigers. He's an exceptional talent. He just has to stay healthy. But that's another addition to this team. But I'm looking forward to seeing what the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be this year. But let's not forget Andy Reid, right? What he's been able to do in the National Football League before Tyreek Hill got there, when he was in Philly. It's not like Andy Reid is not a guy that hasn't done it without a guy named Tyreek Hill. He's been there. He's done it before. And I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be better. And it's actually going to force a guy like Patrick Mahomes to go through his reads, go through his progressions, and be that much more careful. Not saying he's not going to have the scramble plays where you see guys and he just bombs it 50, 60 yards down the field and they get free touchdowns. It's going to be some of that. Probably not as many with a Tyreek Hill not being there, but it's actually going to force him to play within the confines of the offense.
I want to believe as a Miami Dolphins fan that the loss of Tyreek Hill is going to be a huge, epic, insurmountable loss for the Kansas City Chiefs. But I kind of agree with you. I feel like we're underrating some of the weapons that they still do have. And considering who's throwing those weapons the football, I don't know if they're going to take a huge step back. Yes, Tyreek is obviously a loss any way you cut it. But I don't know if he's like the type of loss to Kansas City where they're not going to be able to overcome it and have some success. It just might be more of a campaign of now several receivers stepping up, right, in order to take those targets. We had on Mecole Hardman on Barton Hahn with me on Friday, and he talked about, I said, hey, have you considered the fact that Tyreek's not there, so some of those targets are going to open up? Certainly that has occurred to these other guys right now that are going to be tasked with that responsibility on the Kansas City Chiefs. And he said, we're not going to take a step back. Here was Mecole Hardman.
I don't see why people think we're going to step back. I mean, I thought we lost our whole team. I don't know. So I'm just saying, like, we still got the best tight end, the best quarterback in the National Football League, and some of the best offensive line. We got an improved defense, Still got the best head coach in the game right now, the best play caller there is, Eric Bieniemy. Like, I just don't know what people are looking at or what they're thinking. So you got to see when these Sundays roll around.
So there's a guy who feels pretty confident that they're not going to take a step back. Now, he said, I don't know why people think we're going to take a step back. Well, I mean, Mecole.
Clearly, you lost Tyreek Hill.
That's why. That's why, boss. That's why people think you're going to. But I understand. Listen, I mean, for these receivers on the team, this is a real opportunity for some of these guys to get more targets and to step up.
Yeah, but I think the big thing for the Kansas City Chiefs moving forward is going to be them defensively. They drafted a guy, George Khalifas, who I think is going to help them on the defensive line. Frank Clark, Chris Jones, those guys are going to have to be better this year. But secondary guys, they drafted Trent McDuffie. They lost Tyrann Mathieu. You brought in Justin Reed, Warren Thornhill. I like the way he's been playing the last few years. L'Jarius Sneed, Rashad Fenton. Those guys are going to have to really step up tremendously. Early in the year last year, this defense wasn't good. But then they had a little stretch when they were great and playing a great brand of football. They have to start out that way this year, and it's all going to start up front with that defensive line, and I'll say that front seven with those linebackers as well.
You're listening to Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max here on ESPN Radio. Amber Wilson and Harry Douglas filling in for the guys. ESPN Radio is presented to you by Progressive Insurance. We are breaking down the top of the AFC. I think we both agree the top of the AFC looks something like the Bills and the Chiefs. But the AFC is not going to be easy sledding this year for either of these teams. No. The Bills, though, are in the much easier division. You would agree, right? Now, I also, by the way, think that the AFC East has improved. And I don't think I'm just saying that as a biased Dolphins fan. I do think that there has been some improvement. I think even the Jets have, frankly, improved some. But I do think that the Bills are probably going to skate through that division quite easily, where I don't know if I feel confident saying that about the AFC West with the Chiefs.
No, the AFC West is tough sledding. You look at Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers. You look at the Raiders and Derek Carr. You look at Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. And then you look at Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think when you look at that division, do you want to win your division? Yes, you do. But I think for those teams in that division, you just want to make the playoffs. You don't want to be the oddball out. I think they're going to get 2 teams for sure, possibly a third. But 4 teams is not going to get in because I think they're going to beat up on each other within the division.
Who's going to be the odd man out then?
Right now, I have to pick the Denver Broncos. I have the Denver Broncos being the odd man out right now.
Rough for Russell Wilson. I don't know if I disagree with you, though. I mean, I would actually have the Chargers in the conversation as a team that could win the entire thing for the AFC. You have the Bills winning.
I got Justin Herbert as my MVP this year.
So, okay. All right, Harry Douglas. So Justin Herbert's your MVP. The Bills are going to the Super Bowl, but the Kansas City Chiefs are the team to beat.
Yeah, that can all be possible.
Can it?
Yeah.
Can it? Well, I don't know if what Keyshawn said last week can be possible because Keyshawn on this show, of course, host here of this show, Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max, he said some crazy stuff about Josh Allen. Take a listen to Keyshawn's take on Josh Allen.
I don't believe Josh Allen is the reason that the Buffalo Bills were in the position that they were in. I believe it was the coaching. I believe it was the acquisition of Diggs through the general manager and Brandon Beane. I like Josh Allen, but I'm just not that guy that all of a sudden look up and because Josh Allen had 2 good solid seasons back-to-back that he is just getting ready to be the next guy. Even though people pushing it that way, I need to see more. That's just me.
He needs to see more. What do you make of Keyshawn not being sold on Josh Allen? Is that Keyshawn just having like the standalone take? Because I haven't heard that take from anybody else other than Keyshawn Johnson.
Well, I don't blame anybody else for not wanting to play it because I think it's crazy to me. Josh Allen, in the way he plays the game of football, he is the reason why the Buffalo Bills even had an opportunity last year. Now, look, granted, I understand their defense was phenomenal as well. But let's not forget it was their defense that didn't allow them to go to the to the AFC Championship game that let them down when it was Josh Allen and Gabriel Davis connected on the touchdown to take the lead. Like, let's not forget that. It was also that defense in overtime when Cincinnati, we seen the week after, got to stop Patrick Mahomes that didn't stop Patrick Mahomes. So when I look at a guy like Josh Allen, every year he's been in the National Football League, he's gotten better.
Yep.
And I was so impressed with him last year. I don't think he's going to have a drop-off this year. I think he is one of the most dangerous players to play against in the National Football League heading into 2022-2023 season.
There's no reason for me to believe that Josh Allen is going to take a step back all of a sudden. I mean, I guess Keyshawn maybe believes it.
No.
Keyshawn knows a little bit more about football than Amber Wilson.
And they got better this year.
But it's hard for me to believe that that's what's going to happen. And so that's what I mean about the Bills. I would have expected them to get better anyways, even if they had just sat on their hands this offseason. And then they make the moves bringing in Von Miller. So I think this is going to be a much improved Bills team. Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Get the $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk Wireless.
Now, I will say this. The addition of Stephon Diggs did help out a young Josh Allen because he wasn't phenomenal his first year. But when they started getting Stephon Diggs and more playmakers around him, and that's what you want to do as management. You want to surround your young quarterback with talent. What the Chicago Bears haven't done with Justin Fields. That's what you don't want to do.
And still haven't done and aren't appear to not be about to do.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to bring in help. I mean, even like the Jags have done it around Trevor Lawrence this season, right? Like you've got to bring in help. To help, yeah, of course. Joe Burrow is a prime example of bringing in the right kind of help, and they continue to get better as well. Let's take some of your calls here on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Amber Wilson and Harry Douglas filling in for the guys. 888-ESPN is how you get in touch with us. 888-729-3776. Dave is in Maryland. Dave, what you got for us on the Chiefs?
How you doing? How y'all doing?
Doing
good,
well
Dave.
this morning.
Yeah, to me, I think this is a pretty easy answer here. I think it's not by a lot, but the Bills are definitely the team to beat. The Bills roster is just overall better. You know, the fact that the Chiefs lost Tyrone Hill and the Honey Badger, those are huge losses. Honey Badger on defense was a leader. It's hard to replace that. And as far as for losing Hill on the offense for the Chiefs, he was such a game changer when the game bogs down and weather conditions or whatever. He was able to get you some of those fourth down crazy plays because of his speed. You can't replace that. And Juju Schuster and Scanling are nice receivers, but they're going to have to prove to me that losing that speed is on the outside is going to be a little bit tough. And as far as for Buffalo, picking up Von Miller is huge. I mean, he is going to be a real impact come playoff time. So to me, this roster and the fact that, just like you said, Buffalo is going to have it easier in the East as far as for just walking through that division. And Kansas City is going to be in a fight every week. So I just think Kansas City, their max is like 10 wins, 11 wins most in the regular season. Buffalo's going to walk to 12-13 easy. So to me, Buffalo's got a home field the whole way through.
Thanks for the call, Dave. To Dave's point there, Harry, we haven't talked much about what the Chiefs did in the offseason in terms of losing some of those defensive starters. Now, they did use half of the Chiefs' 10 draft picks in just the secondary, trying to replace some of those key losses. Do you think their defense is going to take a step back, though?
Well, I look at how they started last year. They took a step back to start the year last year. They wasn't phenomenal, but then they went on a winning streak where their defense was playing lights-out football. But I think that's going to be the key piece for the Kansas City Chiefs. Can their defense hold up? Because right now I look at their defense as being the weakest link. But at the end of the day, it wasn't the Kansas City Chiefs defense that lost in the game. It was the Buffalo Bills defense that lost in the game when it was all said and done. 13 seconds, not getting a stop. And in overtime, not getting a stop against Patrick Mahomes and letting Travis Kelce score the game-winning touchdown.
Well, that's why the Bills went ahead and spent some money on their defense this offseason. Believe that. You can give us a call, 888-SAY-ESPN. Jackson is in Louisiana. Jackson, are you upset with Keyshawn for sleeping on Josh Allen?
Yes, good morning. How you guys doing?
We're great. Thanks, Jackson.
Yes, and I wanted to bring up a quick point, and I like what Harry said about Justin Herbert being MVP. I think that's a good option. But with the addition of Joe Brady added onto that Buffalo Bills offense to help Josh Allen, I think that's going to help Josh step up to another level, and he's my league MVP, and I actually have Buffalo winning it all.
Yeah, I think one of the things that Keyshawn is factoring in, too, is that Brian Dable is no longer going to be the play caller, right? And it's going to be Ken Dorsey. You have Joe Brady coming up there as well. And we're gonna have to see how that's going to be. Now, do I think they're going to have a phenomenal drop-off? No, because Ken Dorsey has been the quarterback coach there in Buffalo with Josh Allen, and he's been in and out within that system for a while now. So I don't think it's going to be too much drop-off. But it starting out, you may see a slight difference, but I think Josh Allen is going to be Josh Allen.
Keep giving us a call, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. We are asking you, which is the team to beat in the AFC? I see you, Shane, Adam, Todd, Milton, all of you guys hanging out on hold. I appreciate the calls. We will get to your calls. One of the callers, though, said that the Bills are going to walk through the AFC East. Do you feel like they're going to walk through the AFC East? I mean, do you have any belief at all in the Patriots or the Dolphins or the Jets giving them any sort of trouble?
So I think they're going to win it, but let's not act like the Dolphins didn't get better.
Preach.
The Dolphins
Go on, Harry Douglas.
The Dolphins
Go
got
on.
better. The Dolphins got better. Now, I do believe the only reason why the Patriots beat the Buffalo Bills last year is because of that weather. And I don't think home field advantage for Buffalo is going to be to their advantage because they like to throw the ball and pass the ball around.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get one of those wind games where the wind is blowing like crazy and you can't pass the football around and then you run into a team that runs the football very effectively, that can be used against them come playoff time.
So let's stick with this subject. We will get to more of your parents. Amber Wilson and Harry Douglas hanging out with you, filling in for the guys. You can follow us on Twitter at AmberWSports. That's me at HDouglas83. That's him. You can also join the conversation on the call-in line at 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. We have been asking you who is the team to beat in the AFC this upcoming season as we head into training camp here this week. The phone lines are lit, so let's go ahead and get to some more of your calls. Jose is in Tampa. Jose, what do you have for us on the Chiefs?
Hey, good morning, guys. How you guys doing today?
Good morning. We're great.
Doing well.
All right. So, listening to what you guys are saying, man, first of all, I want to go off of one thing. I don't know if you guys remember the last time we heard Bart Scott say something about the Kansas City Chiefs. It was on ESPN, how he said that the Kansas City Chiefs are the roster and that they have now coming in, they're possibly not going to make the playoffs. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, I remember it.
Okay. So, honestly, a lot of people and everybody on ESPN and everything thought he was crazy for saying that. Honestly, I'm one of those that don't think he's crazy. I'm going to believe it. And the reason why I say that is because the loss of Tyreek Hill is a big factor. You guys think about what he does on that field. He controls the middle. Mahomes, third and whatever it is that he goes to, he has Tyreek Hill. That's his comfort zone. Lamar has Mark Andrews. We all know that. Now that Tyreek's not there, he's that factor that draws that second triple team, which then allows Travis Kelce to be Travis Kelce. Or should we say he gets his swagger back. But we're going to see a different Travis Kelce this year. We're going to see him actually work harder for his yards. Juju Smith, I can get with him. He's a good slot, but he's not dynamic enough to get you those long yards. And at the end of it all, they're not dynamic enough to beat the AFC West, nor a total full packaged AFC overall.
Thanks for the call, Jose. I mean, obviously they are in a stacked division. We already covered that, Harry. But what I thought he said there about Travis Kelce was interesting because they still got Kelce. They still got one of the best tight ends in the entire game. And yes, you're right. Juju, Valdez, Scantling, like they aren't Tyreek Hill, but you did bring in multiple pieces to try to make up that huge void of Hill. Plus, again, Kelce's still there, but Jose thinks he's taken a step back.
We're talking
season.
like the Kansas City Chiefs didn't bring in quality guys.
Right.
Like Marquez Valdez-Scantling is a quality receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Juju Smith-Schuster, when he's healthy, is a quality receiver. Mecole Hardman, I think he's going to step up and needs to step up more this year. Sky Moore was one of my favorite receivers in this year's draft. If Justin Ross can be healthy, I think he might be one of the steals of the draft, and they didn't even draft him. They got him as a free agent.
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely have decent pieces. I think it's just that when you look at the void left by Tyreek, like that's what people, I guess, are so nervous about. Again, as a Dolphins fan, I want to believe it's true, but I tend to agree with you that, they did bring in.
It's a team game.
Right, it's a team game.
People do understand that.
And
right?
at that position now, I think it's going to be more of a team approach. Because, yes, you might not have arguably the best receiver in the game anymore, but you do have a good receiver room when you take the room as a whole. Darren Yates is in Ohio. You apparently agree with Keyshawn Johnson about Josh Allen, that he needs to show you more. What's up, Darren?
Yes, I've been a Buffalo Bills fan for 40 years, and I saw Jim Kelly, and I don't think that Josh Allen is, in his mind, the quarterback that Jim Kelly was. I think I always tell everybody if Josh Allen had Jim Kelly's mind or Jim Kelly had Josh Allen's athleticism, they'd be unbeatable. And, you know, Josh Allen's close, but he's not there yet. So
thank you, Darren, for the call. That is a caller who really appreciates yesteryear for his team.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Josh Allen it's not even a question, it's a statement. Do people understand that Josh Allen is only going into year 5?
Apparently not. I've been surprised by that as well, because you were right when you spoke earlier about Josh Allen when we played the Keyshawn bite. Keyshawn's like, I need to see more. It's like, well, we've seen more every single season, right? I mean, quite literally, he has shown us more every single season. Yes, his rookie year left something to be desired. None of us were sold on him yet.
Yes.
But at this point, I don't know how you're not sold on Josh Allen.
Well, let's just say the last 2 years, 2020, Josh Allen completion percentage was 69.2. Threw for over 4,500 yards, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Last year, that's the year they went to the AFC Championship game when they lost to the Chiefs. Last year, over 4,400 yards, 36 touchdowns, 15 INTs, but he rushed for over 700 yards.
Pretty good.
And you talk about a thriller, one of the best games I think I've ever seen in my life in NFL history. Between them and the Kansas City Chiefs, throwing for over 350 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and putting his team in a position to make it to the AFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's stop acting like Josh Allen is in year 10 or year 11. He's going into year 5, and he's progressing each year.
Every single year.
And he's one of the main reasons why we're even talking about the Buffalo Bills going to a Super Bowl and contending this year.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, think about where we were with this Bills team 5 years ago, right?
Yes.
When he comes into the league, and where we are now, where we're all believers in the Buffalo Bills, which is just even strange to say. And so much of that is predicated on the success and the growth of Josh Allen.
I like his mindset. I love Josh Allen's mindset, man. He a dog.
I was surprised that that caller, who was a Bills fan, said that that caller said like he didn't think that he had the right mindset like Jim Kelly used to. I was surprised by that as well. I feel like Josh Allen seems like a winner.
Jim Kelly hasn't won a Super Bowl. He's been to some, but he hasn't won one. I love Jim Kelly. It's not a knock on Jim Kelly. I'm just saying he's talking like Jim Kelly won a Super Bowl.
Right.
He didn't win one.
I think everybody just likes who they grew up watching, right? Like, it's just nostalgia. This is Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max coming to you live from the Seaport District at Pier 17, brought to you by Chase. You can watch us live on ESPN2. So I mentioned Keyshawn talking all crazy about Josh Allen because he did that not long ago. For context, here was Keyshawn Johnson, host of the show, Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max, talking about Josh Allen.
I don't believe Josh Allen is the reason that the Buffalo Bills were in the position that they were in. I believe it was the coaching. I believe it was the acquisition of Diggs through the general manager and Brandon Beane. I like Josh Allen, but I'm just not that guy that all of a sudden look up and because Josh Allen had 2 good solid seasons back-to-back that he is just getting ready to be the next guy. Even though people pushing it that way, I need to see more. That's just me.
I mean, Keyshawn Johnson's pinky finger knows more about football than me, right? But the fact that you, Harry Douglas, who also knows so much about football, obviously spent so many years in the league yourself, the fact that you are just grabbing your head in frustration listening to that bite shows me that my frustrations with that bite feel a bit justified.
Well, I also know coaching played a part in them losing that game against the Chiefs as well.
Right. Well, that's true. That's fair.
Like, let's be honest here.
Right.
Like, decide not to squib kick. Playing prevent defense with 13 seconds left, that's a part of coaching.
Yeah, Josh Allen was not the problem in that game by any means.
At all.
He was why they were in a position to win with 13 seconds left.
Correct.
In that game.
Yes.
That was Josh Allen. At least a lot of that was Josh Allen.
I don't know why I'm so
game.
Listen, I love Key. That's my guy. I don't know why I'm so bothered by that statement. I am really bothered by that statement.
It is a wild bite from Keyshawn Johnson, but that's what we do around here, right? On Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Amber Wilson and Harry Douglas filling in for the guys. We are taking your calls on which is the team to beat in the loaded, absolutely stacked